2,506 felons voted illegally in Georgia. 66,248 underage and therefore ineligible people to illegally register to vote before their 17th birthday, when the law requires 17 and a half years old. At least 2,423 individuals to vote who were not listed as registered. 1,043 individuals to cast ballots who had illegally registered to vote using a post office box. 4,926 individuals voted in Georgia who had registered to vote after their Georgia voter registration date, thereby canceling their Georgia voter registration. 10,315 or more individuals to vote who are deceased by the time of the election. 395 individuals to vote in Georgia who had cast ballots in another state, which is illegal in both states. 15,700 individuals to vote in Georgia who had filed a national change of address with the United States Postal Service prior to November 3rd, 2020. 40,279 individuals to vote who had moved across county lines at least 30 days prior to Election Day and who had failed to properly re-register to vote in their new county after moving, also in violation of Georgia law.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. It's unbelievable. It shows the whole video about 8:30 in the morning. A table is brought in, black skirting is placed around it. Boxes are put underneath it. They go all day long counting the votes, and then at about 10:30 p.m., we have the so-called water main break. The Republican counters are ordered to leave the room. At approximately 10:40 p.m., when the room is cleared, people go to the table and start pulling out suitcases or whatever it is of ballots from underneath the table. And for the next couple of hours, those ballots are placed in multiple machines. And by the way, those machines can count up to 3,000 ballots per hour. Multiple machines are used, and for 2 hours, ballots are put in those machines. Absolutely stunning information. This has got to be a game changer, as it would be said, in the entire election in Georgia.
So do these suburbanites need a united Republican Party, or do they need people running around saying, oh, don't vote on January 5th because that would be perpetuating a corrupt process? When I heard that the other day, I almost fell out of my chair. I'm like, y'all almost don't deserve to win if you're that stupid, frankly. Sorry.
Some of those... No, Laura, they're not that stupid. What they want is focus on the here and now. We must sort out exactly what happened on November 3rd and the days after. We're about 1 month after the alleged crimes happened. Live from Washington, D.C., you're in the War Room. It's Friday, the 4th of December, the year of our Lord, 2020. It only gets more intense every day we do this. This is exploding across the country like we said it would. As soon as you have citizens in open forums putting forward testimony, whether that is in Gettysburg, whether it's in Lansing, Michigan, whether it's in Arizona, whether it's in Georgia, courage is contagious. People will come forward. We're going to go to Georgia with John Fredericks with more explosive breaking news from Georgia. We're getting closer, ladies and gentlemen, to a special session of the Georgia General Assembly. And the Republican establishment should understand something. You have a special session, you will have a victory on January 5th. You do not have a special session, you will not have a victory on January 5th. It's that simple. And Laura Ingraham, this is called a sine qua non. This before that, okay? This is essential. No, they're not stupid. In fact, they're very, very, very smart. And Laura Ingraham, and I love you, you've been part of this movement for a long time. These people are fighters. And they're just not going to look away and say, oh, we'll take care of the future. No, the future is now. And we're winning across the board. Why are we winning? You can tell. They don't want to address any of the evidence. In the second hour, we're going to talk about the ridiculous CNN interview last night. But Biden understands something. What does he want? The number one thing he wants Trump on that podium on Inauguration Day. What do you say? We got to move on. We're not moving on unless your campaign engages immediately in getting to the bottom of all of this, including the mantra at the beginning by that lawyer in Georgia, which is outrageous that happened and has not been fully investigated by Governor Kemp and the Secretary of State. And then the video. The video is important. Don't get me wrong. The video is explosive, but it shouldn't take the video when you've got all of these allegations of illegal alien voting, of people too young to vote, of people voting from post offices. All those ballots should go. Want to start now in Arizona, because in Arizona, State Representative Mark Fitchem, who joins us from Southern Arizona on the show, had the courage to go against the Republican Party and actually have one of these hearings. And that hearing went 11 hours. And what I loved about the hearing, it started off, I'm not saying slow, but it was methodical. They built the case for all 11 hours. And Ducey, in his arrogance, had the signing ceremony for the certification, I think in hour 3, just to be in your grill. So I want to bring in State Representative Mark Fitchem for an update. We're going to go to Georgia right after this, and then Bernie Karras will give us the overview later in the hour of how we're fighting on every front. Mark, tell us about the 11 hours you had and what has happened since then. I heard that there's been an explosion of people in Arizona coming forward with more information.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I appreciate the opportunity. This has turned into a fraud free-for-all. I mean, there's so much hair on this thing that nobody knows really how to handle it. Actually, those of us who've got some courage to handle it do. But essentially what's happened, the theory of holding the public hearing, which Governor Ducey just, again, up in our grill says, well, that was nothing more than a meeting. Hearings happen at the Capitol. Well, I got news for you, Governor. Hearings happen wherever the legislators decide to have a hearing. So at this hearing, the theory was that all we needed to do is get it in a public forum, and we would have witnesses come out of the woodwork. We would have whistleblowers. We would have county recorders break ranks with what so far has been kind of a closed rank. This is our result. This is what we're going to certify. So what happened in the hearing, as you said, we tried to build a foundation of here's the theory of the case and here's the constitutional argument. And from that, began to take witness testimony. We had over 40 affidavits, and more affidavits are coming in now. We've got more people who are stepping forward to say, hey, I saw something, but I don't know what to make of it. So when you begin to build the fact pattern of, and I'm going to call this the homicide of an election, not only are we going to have the smoking gun and the shell casings and the blood splatter, we're going to have the whole crime scene. But one of the problems that we've got right now is the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, while making a commitment to do certain things, they've waffled back and forth. Now, this is a very simple ask. Even though they've already certified their results off of their Dominion voting equipment using all of the software that's been the subject of great controversy, we still haven't seen an audit. We haven't seen the machines impounded. A reasonable individual who wants to avoid misfeasance, malfeasance, and mismanagement, which, by the way, in Arizona is, I believe, a crime, the prudent thing would be to have an audit of all the machines, impound them, have a forensic team look at it, have an auditor present so we are able to document every step of the process so that there's no subjective things that make their way into this. Now, the whole point of the hearing was to offer an objective forum that's not interrupted by individuals like we saw in Michigan who want to go on with antics to just disrupt the thing. We wanted to give not only Mayor Giuliani and his team an opportunity to present the case, but also to hear the real life stories of individuals who were harassed, who observed things that they knew to be wrong, and to take that evidence and prepare it for a resolution going to our leadership, both in the House and the Senate. Now, I should highlight the fact that we asked for a hearing. I asked for a hearing 2 weeks prior, approximately 2 weeks prior to the hearing we decided to hold off-site. I got slow walked. To this day, I still don't have an answer. So not only did I get slow walked, then the spin machine went into, well, this is nothing more than a meeting. I had members even attacking me for holding a public forum for my constituents. Now, we had 8 other like-minded members, some senators, some representatives, and we had the good fortune to represent all but 2 counties in the entire state with the panel that we had. Now, from that, we now see county recorders, a couple of them are breaking ranks. At least one of them now has said, look, I'm looking at something that doesn't make sense here. I know the canvas seems to have added up, but something's terribly wrong here. One of the other things that is really troubling to me is even with the evidence that we presented, there appears to be some kind of barrier for House and Senate leadership to move forward. Now, under Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution.
But hang on a second. Let's focus. You said county recorders are coming to you and say something doesn't seem right. Are these counties significant enough that, because Arizona is 10,000 votes, and it seems to me what I'm hearing in Pima County, Maricopa County, the tribal areas up Navajo Nation and others. In other counties, are you saying county recorders are coming to you now and saying, hey, I know this, I know the canvas looks okay, but there's something not right here?
That's exactly what I'm saying, Steve. So, for example, we have Navajo County, where a state representative received 16,000 more votes in this election than he did the last election. Now, keep in mind, we have people that are leaving the Navajo Nation because SRP shut down Navajo Generating Station. It was roughly 1,200 jobs. We've got people who no longer have work, so they're having to leave the reservation. We've got a declining birth rate. We've got a static death rate. And we have an exiting population that has no jobs. Help me understand how an individual could get 16,000 more votes, unless, of course, people came from New Mexico or Colorado onto the reservation to vote there. Then we have, for example, in Pima County, received the information that appears to be credible. 35,000 votes preloaded into the ES&S equipment in Pima County. And they did what's called a spread distribution, meaning that they would trickle in. So there could be a claim of, oh, it must have been an error. The old glitch word.
Mark, hang on for 1 second. We're taking a short commercial break. We're going to return with State Representative Mark Fitchem from Arizona. When we return in just a second, John Fredericks will be joining us from Georgia. After that, then Bernie Carrick. We're going to get an update on everywhere where we stand today on this Friday morning. We'll return to Arizona in State Representative Mark Fitchem in a moment.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping. I tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. 15 years ago, I invented MyPillow. It took me 2 years to develop because I wanted to have everything you would ever want in a pillow. I made sure that you could adjust my patented fill so you could have the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of your sleep position. I also wanted a pillow that would last, so I made MyPillow machine washable and dryable. I back MyPillow with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, I do all my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota.
I really like the fact.
Welcome back. We're out in Arizona with State Representative Mark Fitchem from Southern Arizona. He was the courageous individual that stood up and forced that hearing that took place at the Hyatt in Phoenix Monday. There was 11 hours with Mayor Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, and the team, Bernie Carrick. Rep. Fitchem, what has come out? What has come out? You've got county recorders coming forward. How much evidence, or how much new evidence, or how many people are coming forward since you had this hearing?
Well, sir, we've got people coming out of the woodwork. I can't count them, just because there's so many people that are stepping forward with little bits and pieces of the fact pattern. Now, I think that they're doing that, A, because we had a hearing, B, because they trust the members that were on the panel. So the next step for this, I believe we're just going to have to go around Governor Ducey. I mean, the disrespect that he showed the president while he was signing a document. Keep in mind, this is 2 hours after the hearing happened. This is well into the acceptance of affidavits and firsthand testimony and mathematical models. All of the evidence is in front of him. So the question becomes, Why would the governor of this state, who knew or should have known that he was about to sign a document that, quite frankly, is fraudulent on its face because of all the evidence that we only have to get to 10,457 votes, and it's a tie. We go beyond that, which, by the way, our evidence shows we're way beyond that. This is a fraud. And I think he knows it, or at least he should have known it as the chief executive of this state. So what's the recovery? We've got to have folks contact the Speaker of the House, President of the Senate, and have a little bit of, just encourage them to have some political courage. We only need to have 31 members of the House and 16 members of the Senate pass a resolution recalling our electors. It's that simple. There's ample, Judge Eastman, or a fellow by the name of Eastman has done a piece. We've got all kinds of constitutional authority, especially under Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. That's plenary authority. Plenary authority. That means we can pull back any permission that we've given any other agency on our whim. And right now, it's not a whim, it's a directive from the people. Our constituents are blowing up over this. So for those who can't show political courage, you better get out of the arena because it's about to get real.
Let me ask you, you said something about fraudulent. You're saying that given the fact that you were conducting the hearing publicly during that time, that enough evidence had been produced and was about to be produced, or he should have known was going to be produced, that to do it during that time actually exacerbated or doubled down. I mean, obviously it was an insult to the president. Obviously it's an insult to the MAGA people. He's a McCain guy that he was trying to insult. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Ducey, that's the type of guy he is, right? He wants to suck up to the president when he thinks the president's in power. If the president's not going to be in power, he'll kick him to the curb. So that's what Ducey is. Everybody knows that, right? Typical classic McCain guy, right? So, but you're saying something different or deeper. Are you saying fraudulent are you saying he committed a crime or might have committed a crime by knowingly signing this document?
Well, I'd have to leave that up to the finder of fact in a courtroom. But keep in mind, the hearing started at 9 o'clock in the morning. He signed that document, I believe, at around 10:30, 11 o'clock. So there's roughly 2 hours worth of testimony, enough to say there's doubt in this. This is creating a case in controversy. There's no reason that he couldn't have held off until that hearing was done, another 7 hours, and seen the whole body of evidence, and then pushed away from the table and said, there's too much here. I can't certify this. So if he knew and signed a document that is a legal binding document that he had to submit to the federal government, I believe that's a violation of U.S. code. Can't give you the citation because I haven't had a chance to research it yet. But submitting fraudulent documents to the federal government or documents that originate out of a case in controversy that has fraud in it, I wouldn't want to be that guy.
So what are you saying right now? You're saying people that listen to the show, watch this show in Arizona should contact their state representative or their state senator and say that that you're demanding a special session, or just cut right to recalling the electors?
I think, well, it has to be done through a special session. So I think the strategy here is pick up the phone and call your state rep and say, look, you better grow a little bit of courage here because you cannot let this stand. Now, we've got evidence that would indicate that somewhere between 62 and 67% of Arizonans voted for the president. The other case that we now have that is on people's minds, state House seats, state Senate seats, and Martha McSally's seat. The math doesn't work. So I would urge Senator McSally, she really needs to step up, raise the money, and challenge this thing in court. Just because Mark Kelly has been placed in that seat doesn't mean that he won.
I don't think you're going to see that. I don't see the fight there. Okay, Mark, how do people get to your what's your Twitter, Parler? How do people follow you? I take it there's going to be a lot of breaking news. What I understand, things are going to be happening in Arizona today and over the weekend. So how do people follow you if they want to catch the news first?
That's at Mark Fitchem, MARK, F like Frank, IN like Nancy, CHEM like Mark. It's both on Twitter and on Parler. I don't play on Twitter a whole lot because of the whole Dorsey communism connection. But You can do that, or you can send me, if you have a lead that you want to turn over to the Giuliani team, you can send me an email at markfinchem@me.com. That's MarkFinchem@me.com. We encourage you, if you made an observation, no matter how small it is, because as it gets plugged into the fact pattern, it helps to paint a robust picture of what happened.
Okay, a lot going on in Arizona. Mark Fitchem, thank you very much for joining us this morning in the War Room. Okay, explosive testimony yesterday. Rudy Giuliani, Bernie Kerik, and the team, and then heads blew up all night. I think things have changed. If you looked at Twitter, some very smart people saying they felt a sea change out there. I want to bring in now John Fredericks, who's down on the ground in the Trump part of Georgia. John, thank you for joining us this morning.
Steve, for having me.
So walk us through, John. Tell us what happened yesterday and then what happened last night and how it's flown through this morning, because I thought we did the evening show and started with that mantra from the lawyer of just, forget the videos. I mean, just what went on in illegal voting and underage voting and out-of-state voting and voting from post office boxes. It's so outrageous that the Secretary of State and then Kemp whines on TV he can't do anything about it. It just makes your blood boil about what's going on in Georgia. So get us up to date.
Well, Steve, number one, what you saw yesterday at the Georgia General Assembly in that hearing, by the way, it was a rogue hearing put on by a handful of state senators, Senator Beach, Senator Steve Gooch from Dahlonega, Senator Burt Jones, who was on my show today. They forced the hearing. They got Giuliani here. And the dam is now broke. You're not going to be able to put this genie back in the bottle. Doesn't matter what Facebook tries to say. Doesn't matter who Twitter bans. It's over. This is all coming out, and it is going to change everything. That's why yesterday was so impactful. Steve, a picture paints 1,000 words. And what you saw yesterday was a video that the Giuliani Trump camp obtained at State Farm Arena. And this video is a security video that's owned by the Atlanta Hawks. This is not a Giuliani video or a Republican video of the Georgia Republican Party. This is a security video that you have, that businesses have. The Trump campaign finally got a hold of it. They showed it yesterday. The evidence is absolutely damning, and you can't stop watching it. What they did in Fulton County is what everybody's been saying that happened. They threw everybody out at 10:30 at night. They said, go home. We're going to resume counting tomorrow. No poll watchers, no Republicans, no observers, no media. They threw all of them out, locked the doors, shut the blinds, turned out the lights. Then, after 30 minutes of mundane cleanup, 2 workers, what you saw on camera, went in, got a key, went into another room that was locked, unlocked it, went to a huge big area, a desk that was under lock and key. They had a second lock. They unlocked that. They pulled out 4 black boxes, suitcases, if you will. They brought them back to the counting room. This is all caught on video. You can watch it. They opened up the boxes. They're all stuffed with ballots. No one there, no one watching, no one know where they came from. They start feeding these ballots through the scanner machines with no one there in the dark after they told everyone to go home. If you want evidence of vote fraud, there it is, plain as a nose on your face. Then Facebook and Twitter banned the video. I mean, and they say it's been debunked. Debunked by who? It's been out for 10 hours. It's incredible what is going on. Now, that's only the tip of the iceberg, Steve. Let's get to the second big thing. And then the third. I could go on here. It's what's happened in Georgia in the past 15 hours is incredible. In Ware County, I've got to get to this. In Ware County, little tiny county in southeast Georgia, a guy by the name of Garland Favorita of the Constitutional Party. He's a libertarian, not part of the Trump organization, been working elections for 3 decades. He goes to Ware County, and they allow him, they kept all the paper ballots. They allow him to get in there and to recount the paper ballots. They recount all the paper ballots. They feed him, and the paper ballots, when they add them up, there's 37 more votes for Biden than Trump. They feed him into the machine again, it comes out to the same thing. They changed the algorithms. Now they're trying to impound that machine to do a forensic check on the software.
John, hang on for 1 second. We're going to take a short commercial break, sell some advertising with the John Fredericks Radio Network apparatus. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. John Fredericks, there's a sea change down in Georgia. We're going to return there in just a moment.
Cannot let this demon hide.
War Room, Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Hold the line. And you know who that resonates with? Is Joe Biden and his crowd. What are they begging and beseeching right now? They want President Trump up on the podium on January 20th, the year of our Lord 2021. It is not going to happen unless the Biden campaign immediately and the Democratic Party reaches out and starts to assist in getting to the bottom of this, not just voter fraud, election fraud in states like Arizona and Nevada, in Wisconsin, and in Georgia. I want to return now to John Fredericks. By the way, they're going to start pleading. The pressure on Trump is going to ramp up massively now. Got to be there for a transition of power. And what did Biden say? He said the quiet part out loud. We got to move on. We're not moving on. We are drilled in right here, holding this line. We're not moving an inch. This is illegal. It's outrageous. And we don't care what Twitter does. We don't care what Facebook does. We don't care what CNN reports or doesn't report, or MSNBC or Fox News. We are going to get to the bottom of this with American citizens. I want to return now to Georgia and John Fredericks. So, John Fredericks, you're seeing some elected officials like Senator Beach and Senator Burt Jones step up here. What are they advocating happens about these machines? What are they advocating happens, particularly the people? I don't know why the investigators, I don't know why the authorities are not all over these poll workers that are in this video.
Well, they've called for two things today. I'm going to start with Ware County and these machines. They've asked for them to be impounded immediately because what they're afraid is that Raffensperger is going to wipe the software clean, and then there's no evidence of it. And what was found in Ware County is that when you added up the paper ballots and you fed them into the machine two times, Biden got 37 more votes, Trump got 37 less votes. That means it's in the software. You can't change it. There's no explanation for this. They did it by hand two times. So they're claiming that, okay, there's an algorithm in the software that is changing it by just over 0.25%. Now you times that by 5 million voters, and that's about 14,000 votes. Biden won by 12,000. So the question becomes, if they did it in Ware County, little tiny county outside of Augusta, did they do it in Fulton County, Cobb, and Gwinnett, or did they do it all over the country? That's why this is so critical. So the first thing, they've called for three things. One, impound the machines. Second thing today, on my show, Senator Beach from Cherokee County called on Vic Reynolds. He's the head of the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, for an immediate criminal investigation into what was in those, how those ballots got in those suitcases and how they were fed in the machine in the dark. And he wants the poll workers, the poll people that were in that video, to be subpoenaed immediately. So he's now calling for a criminal investigation. See, this thing is moving so fast, you can't, it's going to make your absolute head spin. Of course, last evening, under intense pressure, Brian Kemp now finally tepidly calls for his Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to do a signature match on the envelopes with the mail-in ballots. He doesn't have the power to do that. Only Raffensperger can do that. Raffensperger refuses to do it. Then today, they put a press release out. Senator Beach, Senator Gooch from Dahlonega, State Senator Burt Jones, who was on my show, all of them have been on my show. They put a press release out today demanding a special session right now. Now, what do they want in this special session? This is critical. They want two things. Number one, they want to be able to invalidate the 16 electoral votes that have been certified for Joe Biden and said you can't certify because there's fraud, because of these suitcases and this ballot machine and many, many other things. They had 100 affidavits. Second thing they want to do, which is critical, is they want to invalidate the consent decree that Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, signed with Stacey Abrams and the Democratic Party, saying that it's illegal. Here's why it's critical. If they do that, they change the way January 5th runoff is done. That's what the people are demanding. They don't want to participate in another fraud. So they want to change that. So if you're going to do a mail-in ballot, the signatures have got to match before that thing comes out of the envelope. That's what they're calling for. That's where the action.
This is why everybody's attacking Lynn Wood does not get it and has not spent enough time in this situation like John Fredericks in the War Room has. It's outrageous. Outrageous. Steve, to attack this guy who... Yeah, go ahead.
Steve, I just got to tell you, the media shakeout that is going to come from this is so massive when this is all said and done that I just got to say this. The movement you're seeing amongst the deplorables is now so electric, Steve, that it is eclipsing the current Republican leadership. It's moved beyond them. Steve, they don't get it. And so when you saw Newt Gingrich sending this letter out yesterday, everybody's favorite guy, right? He used to be my congressman. I backed him in 2012. Newt Gingrich is a relic of the past. He needs to go back to the Vatican with his wife. He doesn't get what's going on here. The party, the Trump voters have moved beyond their leaders, and there's going to be a massive shakeout. The other thing is in media, that Breitbart piece is going to sink the company because that's their readers, Steve. And it came straight, we understand, from McConnell's office, from sources I have. The shakeout here is going to knock your socks off. 6 months from today, everything is going to be much different than it is now, Steve.
We're about to go to Bernie Carrick, but I got to ask you, John, how close? I hear from my sources in Georgia that Kemp is feeling the heat all over, and he may be actually rethinking this special session. What are you hearing right now? Because the special session solves everything. If you call a special session and you deal with these issues, particularly number 2, you're going to have a massive turnout of Trump voters on January 5th, and you're going to win both Senate seats. If you don't have a special session, I don't care how much money Karl Rove puts down there. I don't care how much money the Kochs put down there. It's not going to matter. I know these Trump voters as well as anybody. 25 to 30, a third of them are not coming out. They're just ornery that way. Okay? If they don't think you're in for the fight, they're not going to there's not all the TV commercials in the world are not going to make a difference. It's very simple. A sine qua non of victory on January 5th is a special session in Georgia now to address these two issues. So, John, I understand Kemp's on TV whining about, well, I asked the Secretary of State, nicely. He's just not doing it. He comes across as a sap. What is that sap doing right now to try to move forward to a special session?
Nothing. And the other two people that are doing nothing because they don't get it either because they're listening to their elite Washington, D.C. consultants that drained the Kemp campaign dry in 2020 is Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Not a word from them. They need to demand a special session. You can't watch that tape and not say, oh, my God, the corruption in Georgia is beyond the pale, even what you thought it was. So Loeffler, Perdue, they have to demand it. They have to put pressure on the governor to have it. If you're David Perdue or Kelly Loeffler, you've got one chance at victory January 5th, and that's a special session so they can fix the fraud and that you can then electrify the Trump base, which is right now. Here's what they figured out. They have the power, not the politicians. Steve, they just figured it out. And so you can't put that, you can't stop the dam from breaking. They just figured out they have the power, and they're about to exercise it.
That is the power of a great awakening, sir. You're seeing it. The scales are falling off people's eyes. And people, the populist movement, people understand where the power is. The power is the people, not the money, not the elite, not your political betters, you. This audience has moved it. And it's very simple. Victory's there. I saw some polls today. I think Loeffler's down by 7. I'm not saying how good these polls are. Loeffler's down by 7, and Perdue's down by 2. If you want, it's very simple. If you want to win, have a special session. If you don't want to win, don't have a special session. Don't have a special session. Have the Kochs and Rove and all those guys raise all the donor money, because donors, you're suckers. You're not going to win because the people are not going to turn out. We're not telling people not to turn out. We think it's incredibly important to win on January 5th. But more important is to take care of this now. And if you don't take care of that consent decree, you're just going to get into the same game. John Fredericks, what's your Twitter handle, John, so everybody can get to you during the day?
At JF Radio Show. Most important thing, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com, John Fredericks Show. Most important thing, subscribe there. Watch our videos. Our entire show's up there in segments. You can make it easy. We would appreciate that. Steve, thank you for having me.
Thanks, John. Okay, I now want to turn to Bernie Kerik, who's been the chief organizer of this roadshow that's really galvanized the country, and I think put forward the evidence, the receipts about exactly what's going on in all these states. Bernie, I want to start in Georgia, where we just left John Frederick. What you guys did yesterday absolutely exploded off the football. Can you walk us through what you guys tried to present yesterday and what you think the impact was?
Well, the lead attorney on the Georgia stuff for us, Ray Smith, presented a video that was taken on election night that showed a number of the workers that were the poll workers that worked up until about 10 p.m. And then they basically closed down. They sent everybody out. The reporters were removed. And once everybody was out of the room, there were 4 people left. And once the coast was basically clear, they went over to these tables, lifted up curtains that were covering the tables, pulled out these what appears to be pelican cases, big plastic cases, rubber cases, pulled them out, and they were loaded with ballots. Those ballots were then pushed through the system without any observation, any Republican observation, anybody really, just these 4 Democratic poll workers. And this is the stuff, Steve, what we saw firsthand in Georgia on that video is exactly what we've heard happen in Detroit, in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh, in other places around the country. We now have 6 to 8 states around the country where the same exact thing has happened. And anybody, if there's anybody out there that does not think this could not be a federal RICO case, you have to be out of your mind. These people didn't wake up on the morning of November 3rd and just dream this stuff up in every one of these states. The same methods, the same criminality. It's insane. We now have
Bernie, hang on. We're going to take a short commercial break. Can you please hold over? We got so much more to go through. Bernie Kerik, the chief investigator and the organizer of these hearings for Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis. Bernie is going back in D.C. is going to join us right after this commercial break. And you are over, 'cause we're taking down the CCP.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
2,506 felons voted illegally in Georgia. 66,248 underage and therefore ineligible people to illegally register to vote before their 17th birthday, when the law requires 17 and a half years old. At least 2,423 individuals to vote who were not listed as registered. 1,043 individuals to cast ballots who had illegally registered to vote using a post office box. 4,926 individuals voted in Georgia who had registered to vote after their Georgia voter registration date, thereby canceling their Georgia voter registration. 10,315 or more individuals to vote who are deceased by the time of the election. 395 individuals to vote in Georgia who had cast ballots in another state, which is illegal in both states. 15,700 individuals to vote in Georgia who had filed a national change of address with the United States Postal Service prior to November 3rd, 2020. 40,279 individuals to vote who had moved across county lines at least 30 days prior to Election Day and who had failed to properly re-register to vote in their new county after moving, also in violation of Georgia law.
I hope your blood's boiling. That's the third time we've played this since last night. To me, it is one of the most powerful pieces of from Gettysburg to Arizona to Michigan in Georgia. And Bernie, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's your lead attorney down there. And the video is very powerful. Don't get me wrong, because there you see him in the middle of stealing this, right, with the fake thing about the pipes, breaking down and stopping everything. But here you had a litany of just nuts and bolts, which adds up over 100,000 votes, of how they stole this, of one way they stole it. What is going to? Did it stun you when he walked through that? I mean, to me, we ought to play that every day until they answer it. That is just in your face.
Well, I think what the American people have to realize, Steve, is when you listen to that and you realize, I don't remember now with all these numbers in my head. How many numbers are? What's the numbers we're down in Georgia? What is it?
12,000.
12,000, right?
No, you're 12,000. Yep.
Yeah, 12,000. So we're 4 times over that. 4 times. So for the governor or any political leader in Georgia to basically say we should or can certify that election, you have to be out of your mind. You have to be out of your mind. And every constituent, every person in Georgia, every voter in Georgia has to be fuming right now. The criminality was overwhelming. The video in itself is one thing. Those numbers tell a story. Those are real numbers. They tell a story that basically Donald Trump won that election by far, overwhelmingly won that election. And for the governor or any one of these people to certify that election, those numbers, they're crazy.
What is the next? I want to go to some other states in a second, but in Georgia, this is all going to come down to, correct me if I'm wrong, I understand you're in court, Lynn Wood's in court on the consent. You've got you guys are in court. The courts are going to have obviously a lot to say about this, but the central thing is to get a special session of the Georgia Assembly. Where do we stand with that? I understand Kemp's getting, I think, a little wobbly. He's now saying, hey, we ought to have the audit, the signature audit. Do you have any insights? Given the overwhelming evidence you presented yesterday, and people are coming out of the woodwork down in Georgia right now, they want to secure the machines. They want to have immediate special session. You've got 2 state senators, Beach and Burt Jones, who are very powerful. That want to have a special session right away. What's the latest that you hear?
Well, as of last night, they're pushing for that special session, and I think Steve. Here's the way I look at this. As much as the Democrats cheated, as bad as it is, Donald Trump will lose this election, not because of the Democrats, but because of Republicans that don't have the courage to stand up and do their job. That is the reality. We have the power. We have the law behind us. We have the Constitution on our side. If we lose this election and Donald Trump is not elected president in this year, in this election, the Republicans did it, not the Democrats. The Democrats tried, but we could win this if the Republicans did their job. And I think that's what Burt Jones and the other legislators down there are trying to get to, not only in Georgia, but Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and whatever other state we've been to in the last week. I think we've been to 5 or 6 in the last week.
Real quick, yes. By the way, this is galvanized. We had people from Arizona about the work you did out there. Just quickly, yesterday, one state you couldn't get to was Nevada, but they had an evidentiary hearing that blew me away. I think they had 8 volumes, Laxalt and these guys, 8 volumes of documentation of the same type of thing that your attorney had about, illegal votes, illegal alien votes, people too young to vote, people don't live in the state vote. I mean, just on and on and on and on. What's your latest about Nevada?
It's much of the same, Steve. Much of the same. All the numbers are pretty much they're coming in the same. Nevada was no different than Pennsylvania. I remember first looking at these statistics in Pennsylvania. We had 32,000 ballots that were received on the same day they went out to the voter by the post office, which is virtually impossible. It's impossible. Same thing happened in Nevada. Same thing is happening in every one of these other states. The bottom line is this was an orchestrated attempt, another attempted coup of the president. And if the Republicans don't do their job, they will have succeeded.